from Nepal. Today we will be discussing about the gender equality, gender practices and gender-based, how to eliminate the stereotypes in the perspectives of our Dr. Konstantin. So basically we share the common ground of gender advocating and gender practices that is happening throughout the basic daily lives. So my questions will be for Mr. Dr. Konstantin, what is your perspectives that genders are serving in the society, and please describe yourselves and your perspectives with the questions.
So according to my background, because I am a cognitive scientist and an integrative medical practitioner, and I've also been dealing with bringing people back from injuries over the last 3 decades. So a traumatologist with the view to rehabilitate people in terms of physical suffering from injuries, car accidents, sports injuries, stroke, whatever, and also dealing with mental health. So I've been approaching mental disorders from a very holistic and natural perspective, instead of offering only medication and or consultations. I've also experimented with using alternative and traditional medicinal techniques. That includes acupuncture and breathing techniques and changing diet and herbal medicines and various other meditation, which today has become very popular, such as mindfulness, etc. So that has helped me to look at a broad spectrum of how to deal with these issues that humans typically have. If we're talking about gender, traditionally we know about masculine, feminine, neuter, and we have something that's called the common, which basically is neither one nor the other, it's just common to all. And in the process of trying to understand what we're dealing with, in fact, there are languages that have masculine, feminine, and neutral. For example, in Europe, the German, the Greek, and the Russian languages have these 3 genders. The Latin languages and even the Dutch have reduced to 2, the feminine and the masculine. And in English, they reduce everything down to 1. So everything is the, so it's like neutral. And so the gender issue, and now I'm making that point because it seems to me that a lot of the issues surrounding gender come from English-speaking countries, or at very least countries where there's been a high input. They are first world countries. They are the result of the development of Industrial Revolution, and there has been a push toward a gender equality, mostly based on socio-economic, socio-political, and then fundamentally socio-ethical elements. And the customs and the traditions vary in those countries, in those first world countries, in any case, as opposed to those from Southern Europe or Eastern Europe, and then we go into other countries such as North Africa, the Middle East, and all the way into Asia. So I see a variation where culture plays a significant role, and that's very important to understand. So when we're talking about gender, from my perspective, there isn't a black and white separation or categorization, which is probably one of the reasons as well why we've gone from heterosexual, homosexual, asexual to having binary, non-binary, the introduction of all these new terms. I believe there are up to 16 different new terms. So we've gone from 4 to 16. And to some extent, I think that also is adding more complication to the situation. It's definitely more complex. And when you don't understand complexity, that becomes a complication. So in that sense, I think that the whole issue of gender exploration with the view to try to understand how to view oneself, where oneself fits into a new developing change within society, that has created added complications, or let's just say added associated factors, which if you don't understand them, they become complications.
All right, so the complications within the societies and the understanding about the women and the men, and the gender terminology has been a very trendy terminology in the society during the working culture or from countries to countries, right? So women are coming up asking their rights in different for a different purpose or for different ways. So understanding this broadly, with your simple scientific answer, what would be your short simple scientific answers for gender balance?
Values?
Gender balance.
Balance. The gender balance is based on understanding the difference between a man and a woman biologically, and then how that fits into a social understanding and how that fits into a more universal
All right.
principle.
Okay, universal.
Mm.
So universality, why do you think we are having conflict?
Everything has become more externally focused, more consumeristic, more materialistic, more headed toward the necessity to try to bring all physical actions, everything that I call 3D, to a level of a complement, so that everyone has enough, because it's based on lack.
Mm-hmm.
Then you've got, because you see, it's very difficult to have these discussions in a generic manner across the board when we've got very highly developed, technologically developed cultures, and you've got others that are less developed, and you've got others that are practically not developed. And there are many tasks that have been performed for thousands of years, more by women. For example, they take care of what is around, not just inside a building, the home, but within the village. Hunter-gatherers, men went out and they hunted or gathered, and they brought back the food. Women then took that food and prepared everything. They kept everything clean, they made sure sanitation was there, they took care of people's health, they took care of people's goodwill, and they took care of people's lives. Men just went out and basically protected. They brought in food or the gatherings of the day, and they, whenever there was a threat to the survival of that entire ecosystem, because eco means living. So economy is about the laws of living. It isn't about money or trade. Right. So you can have an economy without trade, and you can have economy without finance. They are second and third world developments. So if you look at the fundamental basics, a man cannot give birth to a child, even no matter how much they may desire it, or there may be those who do. So natural law comes into play here. The natural law, first and foremost, says that women's chromosomes are very unique and specific to creativity. It isn't about childbearing, so she's just a machine and looked at and treated like a lower or second class or third class citizen. And she's there just to procreate and pass on the genes, which is nonsense, because she actually represents 90%, from my perspective, of the foundation, the structure, and the overall meaning and purpose of the ecosystem. Woman is ikia, that means living. Do you see? And she understands, because, okay, there are hormonal shifts that occur within a woman more regularly than a man for the cycle that is there on a monthly basis, but she has a natural instinct that is not just based on survival, it is based on creativity. When the survival button is pressed in a woman, she will protect. That is the maternal instinct. When the survival button is pressed in the man, he goes out and he wants to wage war. Because protection is like, okay, I protect, but I've got to fight to protect. Yeah. Do you see? And what I'm fighting, usually, it is offensive rather than defensive, when they are looking for expansion. Mm-hmm. So I'm looking fundamentally at what is there, what I call the mother archetype. Right? There's the mother archetype, the father archetype. The mother archetype offers safety, comfort, security, so that the child has all of those fundamental, I would call them key factors that enable the child to grow in a healthy manner. The father offers them protection, once the protection is there, it's like he's outside the house, standing like a guard. I'm protecting this particular ecosystem from potential threats. Then they offer guidance when the child is older. So there is this ancient proverb that says, give me the child at 2 and I'll show you the man at 6. Because the ages of 2 to 6 are very critical for programming. Despite the fact if it's a female or a male, it should, obviously, the father guides the male to become, to have the first level imprinting. This is very important, the programming. And then the female, because when there's a child that comes out of the mother's body, looks at the mother's body and realizes, hey, this is all very nice, she's soft, she's round, I can eat something, she's offering me nutrition and nurturing, but I don't look like her if you're a male. Right? So the boy starts looking for itself. So in that sense, women serve that function of the support and the nurturing, and they give grounding, and they offer the solution that is required for the ecosystem to be balanced. Therefore, the next layer after that is the father offering the protection, the guidance toward expansion. Now, this can be either through knowledge and philosophy toward wisdom, or it can be on a physical level, where you've protected your, let's call it what it is, territory, because you've got territoriality, and then once you're looking to become more powerful, you go into dominance. Mm-hmm. You want to dominate. Yeah, right. You want to be the main force, the main strength, mm-hmm. the main power. Mm-hmm. So this is fundamentally, the bottom line of all of this is a power distribution. So a woman has natural power because she has the ability to perform without having to think. She has natural intelligence in her cells. Men, because this is through creativity, natural creation, they can read, they can procreate, and they can naturally recreate. The man has to do that through intellect. Women can do that through feeling naturally. And through the cells. Mm-hmm. So they have an advantage. And a lot of the time people have asked me in the past, why do I feel that some men, but a lot of men have this inherent sense of imbalance toward women. Not that they are better. In fact, I would say the opposite. Their subconscious knows that a woman has something they don't have. That is why they try to repress and control.
Control the women's, right?
Yeah, the men trying to control the women. Then they use socially accepted morals, values, ethics, customs, and traditions to justify why they are controlling. Mm-hmm. Women aren't normally supposed to be, doctors, warriors, scientists, and it's traditionally a man's thing. Women do other things, not just stay at home and have children, but they can be teachers of children and nurses, and they can be, I think a female should be gynecologist, not a man, but there you go, it happens that way. And all of these imbalances, from my perspective, is a subconscious attempt to regain power. So the bottom line with all of this is it's power generated. Mm-hmm. That's the imbalance, the inequity that a man feels naturally because he is challenged by a woman's natural abilities and existence. First and foremost, he's born through the body of a woman, not a man. We need to understand that is a natural process. So everything I do in terms of looking at elements that are related to wisdom traditions, I explain scientifically because of my background as a researcher, as a scientist. But more importantly, we need something that is more neutral and based on simple logic, reasoning, and facts. Mm-hmm. And the facts are there. Every single egg that a woman has is actually got all the information of her mother in her, her grandmother, her great-grandmother, all the lineage is there, and they're feminine, they're not masculine. The man offers variation in the theme through variation in the gene. And that is it. In other words, that fetus coming from a woman will be a woman. The variation is offered, that capacity to offer the variation is because of the information offered through the sperm. So that creates it. And note that a sperm is small That's why there's millions of them. The egg is big. It's 270 times larger than sperm. So it's this big, massive, like, it looks like a big, planet. And you come up with this little rocket that's swimming and trying to find its way of all the many millions that are searching in the process of the calling insemination. But it's actually a process of connecting. The egg has awareness and knows which of the sperm of all those millions of them is the right one, because apparently it is lit up. It's energetically, electrically, it's alive. So we say energy, we mean electrically. So I need to clarify one thing about this. We've got body chemistry, the biochemistry. That we're aware of. And we talk about hormones and how they activate things, and they do so in the conventional lock and key. So the key goes into a lock, turns it, and opens a pathway, or basically it gives rise to the continuation of a chemical reaction. But then there are activities that happen without the lock and key, just like with a remote control. So this is the important part we need to understand. That goes beyond the conventional biochemistry, which is very mechanistic. This is like I'm pressing a button. There's nothing in between that you can see and touch. But the most important part is that it activates genes, it activates molecules. This is bioresonant frequencies. When you go into a place and you feel the vibes of the place, or you meet someone and you say there's something about that person that I'm picking up. I like their vibes, we clicked, we connected. But it's not chemistry between you and a person. That chemistry is felt at most about a meter away. Pheromones and hormones and whatnot. As soon as you start separating physically, then how do we explain feeling someone who is in another building, another city, another country, or even dead?
Exactly.
Right, exactly. So biochemistry doesn't really play a big role there at all. It doesn't exist. So we need to understand that there are layers of our existence to help build up a new paradigm of what a human is. Because for me, it's not about a woman or a man and gender inequalities, etc. It is understanding the woman and the man inside based on natural law and principles that are constantly happening and functioning with or without your knowledge or your intervention. In fact, the more so-called knowledge we have and we intervene, we interfere, and we create more imbalances within ourselves as a result, mostly of confusion.
Wow, very, very, very beautiful definitions. Like listening you is more like, okay, listen and listen more. For me also personally, that's very knowledgeable and very depth, very clear and understanding. Based on your definitions, okay, we are discussing on the social era of happening the more imbalances about men and women. Do you think it is necessary that man has to be dominance towards the women?
No, not at all. I think that's great confusion, and it represents confusion and doubt. A man should be reverent toward the woman. They must serve. It's not a physical woman that they're serving, it's the mother that gives rise to our life. Okay. Without the mother, we don't exist. A woman is a representative of mother. We must understand this. This is the highest principle. It's a sacred principle. And when we don't understand this, we are functioning in opposition to the sacred within us. It's not about protecting. How can you protect something and then say it's my property? And how can you say in your conscious mind, you utilize, that's what I'm saying, is quite a confusion, almost a kind of schizophrenia going on in the mind of men when it comes to this. And that is the reason, because it's a power, again, a power struggle. I come out of a body that I don't look like, so men need to find themselves. Women need to be needed traditionally. They need to be needed as a mother, as a support, as a nurturer, giving safety, comfort and security. They're always running after trying to take care of things, making sure everything's okay. It is natural in her. The feminine principle is about service internally. You have to serve your family. Yeah? As a child, the female serves, they support the parents. And as she gets older, either she will stay with the parent to take care of them, or she'll have her own family and take care of her family. Who's going to do it? Men are not that good at these things, typically. If they learn, that's fine, but they need to learn it. They don't have a natural instinct for it. Then from service comes devotion. A woman is naturally much more devoted because she has to have that ability to sustain and hold and bring together and hold the ecosystem, the life system. The laws of living is there. Then the laws are present in economia, the laws of living. And then the highest level that she can develop is the virtue. Now, have you ever heard the term virtue used for a man? No. Men do things because they have to. It's called duty. It's your duty. He says, no, I don't want to do that. He says, you have to do it. Otherwise, it's going to give you a good kick up the butt. Right? You do what you're told. He says, okay, now what do I get for it?
Yeah.
I swear to you, I have watched this throughout my life.
Yeah, right.
And girls typically don't say, what are you going to give me?
Yeah,
it's the boy that does that.
Right.
So he's looking for a reward. If I'm going to do this, I'll do it, but I need a reward. So they need rewards.
Recognition.
And that comes in the form of recognition and acknowledgement and appreciation. Appreciation is there for both sexes, definitely. But the highest level of development for man is the honor. So it's, I'm honorable, I've done things in the right way, according to the morals, values, ethics, and the customs and traditions of my society, so I get an award for this. Now, what awards are we giving women for being a woman?
Yeah.
Not
Women
much.
deserve more, isn't it?
Well, there's a lot that's been taken for granted. However, it isn't about deserving more. It's just understanding a principle.
Right.
Right? What is the principle? In the universe, we have the wave, the quantum field. Now, talk about the quantum field. Actually, there are many fields. It isn't just the field. There are people who write the field as if there's just one. No, there are many layers of the field. But what there is the quantum reality. There is a field that has no form. The amorphic field. It is I've coined this phrase because it is randomness. Things have not yet configurated themselves in a manner where they'll turn into a form. That's manifestation. So the process in that random state, there is no like or dislike. There is no want, no desire, no wish, nothing other than potentiality. Okay? So from this random state, things accumulate into a particular order and structure, and then manifestation of that structure manifests or becomes visible, becomes a phenomenon, that which can be seen in 3D. So the first process, though, you see, randomness is neutral. That's the important thing. Let's go back to the basics that we've had for thousands of years, or God knows longer. Yeah? Masculine, feminine, neutral. Neutral, everything comes from the neutral. It's neither masculine or feminine yet. It hasn't delineated, it hasn't been separated. Accumulation, the process of accumulation is feminine. It's contraction, it's bringing energy in, it's gathering in order to put itself into an order so that there can be a structure. There's no structure in chaos. Everything manifests out of randomness into order so that there will be a form that can perform an action called energy. That's energo. I activate. I give energy to, I activate. That's the masculine part. But that's what is visible. And on the visible 3D world, we see force, action, electricity, magnetism is more attractive, but it's still a visible thing that we can see the action of. And then the necessity to perform and to do and to show and to achieve and to be on top of and be recognized and fighting for survival. So the fighter is showing, look, I've made it, I've survived. These are all yang, external, phenomenal or phenomenological, that means visible and able to be contacted with, and they're all about making things happen. But then on the other side, so I do things in triangles, where the left side at the bottom of a triangle represents the inner, the right side at the bottom of the triangle represents the outer, and the apex represents the greater space. Inner space, outer space, greater light. So basically, scientifically we call this micro, macro, and meso. Meso means in between, so the outer, yeah? And when we look at a human being on a social level, The base of the triangle represents your life force, your vitality, your ability to respond to life, and the amount of basic life energy that you have that also controls your rhythms. When the life force becomes active, it goes toward the right. When it becomes overactive, it goes into a chaotic state, basically. You see, this is now just pure science here. Excessive chaos, overactivity, that activates the fighting, because survival is at stake. When you go toward the left, you go into a state of going into what I call this, first off, there is it's not apathy yet. Everything starts slowing down and goes into latency. That's the term, becoming slower. And then you go into apathy, with the maximum form of apathy is the victim. So you've got fighter and victim representing activity or overactivity and chaos, and this is latency and going into apathy. And we humans oscillate between these two extremes on a day-to-day basis. We're born with them. How? We have found out recently, only recently, a lot of everything that I'm sharing with you has been discovered because of the advent, the development of hardware and software in technology. And we've applied it to biotech in only the last 35, 40 years. But that a fetus in the womb is fighting for survival. The baby's not having a holiday in there, I can assure you. Yeah, it's not going on a lovely trip to Dubai in the sunshine, going into on a yacht and smoothly sailing through the process of turning into a human being. It is really drawing energy. It's competing with the mother's life force through hormonal activity and electrical activity for survival. So you're a fighter from the moment sperm connects with egg, because that's what it's trying to do and needs to do to reach the finishing line. 9 months is quite a marathon for that poor little thing. Mother thinks of that fact, that the child is going through one hell of a journey. It's not smooth sailing. That much is clear, especially whatever the mother is thinking, feeling, and going through externally, it is being passed directly. It's not just food, biochemistry, and moods. There's a lot more to it than that.
Feelings and everything, right?
Everything she's experiencing is being imparted, passed onto the fetus.
Happiness, sad, sorrow, the baby's going
Whatever
through.
emotions.
But life comes according to the study that I have done in past. It's like after 3 months the baby got the life, right? After 90 days there should be the moment starts in the fetus, no?
Well, it depends on how you define life. If something's electrically active, I call that life.
Okay.
Because that's why I was saying in the beginning, we've got biochemistry, and that's what we studied very well. Very few people even know about bioelectricity and biomagnetism.
Yeah, right.
We are an electric, magnetic, and a chemical being, not just a biochemical being.
Okay.
We pick up the magnetism through geomagnetism, the magnetic fields of the earth. We pick up the electricity through activation. The main source is the sun. And this has to do with free ions and electrons, which are produced naturally in nature, most visibly and obviously through lightning, because it's a high voltage but very low amperage, means low current. Yeah, but high voltage is a potential difference. 30 to 50,000 volts will free.
Means, according to you, from the sperm enter to the fetus, the life starts.
Yes, because it's electrically activated.
Okay.
It's like an activation energy in chemistry. Yeah, it's the sperm fundamentally is a catalyst that offers also information, but it catalyzes a process, gets the ball rolling in divide and multiply, divide and multiply, mitosis, meiosis, mitosis, meiosis. It just gives the activation energy for that to happen. Otherwise, why doesn't the egg just naturally turn into a fetus on its own? You have a cycle every month. You menstruate every month. There's an egg there holding all the information of the mother. Why doesn't that just divide and multiply? It needs a catalyst, and that's what a man is. He's a catalyst. Do you understand?
Yeah.
That's the major role that they perform. The egg is inside the womb. What does that mean? It is inside a temple, on a throne, waiting to be activated, waiting to be catalyzed. And the womb is not a physical body. This connection I call it the biological Big Bang. You understand? It gives
Biological
birth.
bang, okay.
Yeah, because the amount of energy that is being released and then multiplying itself is phenomenal compared to the very first link, or the energy that each of them hold. This is waiting in potential. So this is latent. You see, this is the feminine in quietness and stillness, the egg. And the sperm has all of the electrical activity. And it's going out and it's searching. I gotta run. Wait. What am I doing? Fight. And then bang! This explosion happens. This meeting of two energies. Do you see the point? Mm-hmm. And so it becomes, that in itself, in terms of natural law, in terms of what happens in the universe, they say the universe is constantly expanding. Great. How? We know we've got two laws, right? That energy can neither be created nor destroyed, it just gets transformed into another state. Okay? Mm-hmm. That holds true on all levels, hence universal. But the second law, which is based on the law of thermodynamics, now thermodynamics means heat giving rise to movement. Okay? So thermo is heat, mm-hmm. Dynamics is movement, right? And the whole purpose of that, it says that energy, in the context of using the law of thermodynamics, which is only about 250 years old, says that everything basically manifests and stays the same.
So you mean that everything happens with the manifestation?
Yeah, everything. Well, manifestation is only you seeing it. It's things are manifesting all the time. They manifest, then they reconnect. So that's the expansion. Then it's got to gather itself. This is where I'm coming from. Everything is constantly expanding, is what I'm getting at. Right? Okay. Energy is constantly expanding. Right? But it can't. How does it expand constantly without something else happening to give the energy to it so that it can expand? And people say to me, but it's energy. Why does energy need energy? Well, you think about it. It's common sense. Nothing happens in a straight line. It doesn't exist. That kind of thinking comes from a linear mentality, a 3D, mechanistic, linear mindset. That is why it makes sense when you're thinking about a straight line. But what's behind the straight line that creates the A to B, B to C, C to D in terms of your objectives? And once you reach that goal, you say, okay, I've reached this goal, I'm in C, I want to go to D. What do I need to get D? What resources? What is my aim and objective at point D? I started with A, that I want to make money, right? And from A, I want to, how do I want to make money? It can be business, it can be properties, it can be working with finance. You achieve a goal and you say, I've got my goal. That's my first step. That was my first marker. What is my second? Now that I've reached B, what do I do? You look for the resources, you look for the necessary terms and conditions that have to be in place, and you aim for it and you succeed. Then you just keep going. A lot of the time, people usually hit a brick wall by the time they're at E, F, G, H, I, wherever. Yeah? And sometimes they might go inside and say, now, why did I hit a brick wall? I've been doing very well until now. And I say it's because they've forgotten what is driving them. Because they're like a train that is being pulled by the front car, where you just keep putting coal in, the old steam engine. So it pulls the rest. Do you see? So, from my perspective, the way nature works is A goes to B, that's the objective, but then it brings the energy and the information and the experience, the knowledge of B back to A. So it incorporates the original motive with the result of that first journey. Then, now that I'm at A and I've got that information, I now understand what that journey was about, I go to my next destination, or my next goal, which is C. So the trajectory, the journey from A to C, which is in a curve, not a straight line, has the energy of A and B, then I arrive at C. Now I'm at C, And I've had an experience on the way back. This is the important part. The way back is the feminine. This is our energy. There's a masculine manifestation, expansion. On the way back is the feminine. I'm gathering. I'm bringing back the information of A, B, and C. Ah, how interesting. Suddenly I am accumulating and I'm growing. I am not simply utilizing an objective which I had in my mind to drive through willpower what it is that I want based on what is lacking, because if I am fulfilled, why would I want anything? Why do I need anything? I'm happy as I am. I don't need anything physical, material, or even emotional, because I found some form of equanimity. And there is the foundation of the gender inequality. It's not just power, it's the life force is not balanced. Mm-hmm. Because men don't understand what it is to be a man. A woman knows what it is to be a woman, but she's fallen into the trap of a man trying to understand what it is to be a woman.
And she's forced to in this area, in this era actually, in this modern era so-called, like women are forced to understand men. Women are over the trap that men wants them to be alike, like they're over super traps. Yeah, social traps that is founded like with zero grounds. I call it zero grounds because with men has no idea what they are doing. They just want an honor and respect, right? So in that case, we are having a chaos of gender imbalance in the society. So that doesn't impact our working environment, work only. That's all about social, economical, psychological, and every aspect. So, and at the same point, people are mentally being in the trauma and anxiety, and the depression is there, right?
Yeah.
So you're also an expert of mental healings and
mental health, yes.
Yeah, mental health. So what would you say to them after all the pros and cons and after discussing the ideas? Understand. Now, so because of all the happenings and understanding that is different in between men and women, there's a chaos creating situations, and that resulted trauma, anxiety, like mental well-being is very difficult for now, for the current generations, young generations as well, because of misconceptions, misunderstanding, and so many things. So as you are also working on the sectors of mental health, so what is your perspectives, how you see it, and please define the mental health, how it is important, and how you will maintain the mental health.
On a social level, women have a very high level of pressure placed on them, especially if they are either in a long-term relationship where they have children. So there's a lot of care that is required on a number of levels that goes out of the limitations and parameters of society, meaning the children, and feeding them, clothing them. It's not just money that does this. You have to physically be with them a lot more. And if you're not, you need someone else to come. But the mother is still thinking, okay, I'm at work, I'm performing in order to make money so that I can pay for the services and the care that is required for my child, which I should be doing, but I don't have the luxury to be at home and do it myself because I've got a skill set. So it depends very much on the nature of the relationship they have with the person, what culture they come from, whether they have extended family help in the form of grandparents or whoever else as a relative. And then on an individual basis, it depends very much on how much that woman is seeking to perform and to achieve. So if she's driven by the need to have a career, obviously nowadays many women are having children later because they wanted to establish their career first, have money in place, and then they can have their child, so the finances are there in order to sustain all of the necessary steps that are needed, at least for the first 3 to 5 years, because that's when your child needs you most. 2 years definitely, And up to 3, between 3 and 5, then they need a lot of intervention also from the father for the guidance and the what I was saying before, the expansion, etc. But then socially, you've got creches, and creche typically starts at around 2 to 2.5. Before that, it's not a creche, it's baby caring. It's different, you see. And the creche is very, very good in terms of offering the stimulation for the child. Now, I will add one other thing at this point in time, from my experience. So, in addition to everything I've just said, your cultural background, the beliefs of that society, the country you come from, because it varies. We can't speak. See, typically, right now, I would say that you have had an education, you have lived in a different way than a woman from Nepal would in a village. So your outlook is very different to hers. Is where she's concerned, she doesn't know anything else, and it's perfectly okay to do what she's been doing.
Yeah.
But you've been introduced to a first world, technologically driven and materially valued, so the basis is materiality, society and mindset with those goals, those aims, objectives, and those goals. So suddenly, that's what puts the pressure on the family and creates the disbalance.
Yeah.
From my perspective, it puts added pressure.
Added pressure.
Yeah. So we've got all of these factors. They are associated factors that build up the picture of what it is to be a woman, a mother, and let's just say the grounding force for a family. Because men aren't meant to ground.
No, men are
Their
not
purpose is to
grounded
go out and they do things,
Yeah.
and they're in constant perpetual motion, Brownian motion, going around in circles. It's like, you see, I see a woman as the mountain, and the man is the wind around the mountain and the rain.
Wow, very simple definitions. No?
Very simple.
I love the way you're defining in very simple and very practical manner.
Yeah.
In the natural forms.
Yeah. Well, it's just because I've had that kind of background, and as I was I had a lot of experience growing up in nature and just understanding myself through nature, through natural laws. So body is first teacher for me, nature is second teacher because it's reflecting what you are. Then I look out into the stars and I say, that's the third teacher. And by the time I've got that information in me, then I look at other humans and I see how much of that do they get? Have they established this? Do they know themselves? Have they tried to find themselves and utilize references outside of themselves from nature rather than from society or from family? And then the third is, how expanded is their mind? Is it intellectual? Is it limited only to information that other people have explored? So they're second-hand, third-hand, fourth-hand information, not first-hand, through their own experiences. You see the difference? And so that's how things worked out for me in this life. And I guess I found that to be quite natural and simple. I guess that's been the foundation programming that I've received, and all my achievements have come through trying to see how all of those aspects are connected, rather than to put all of the values on a society or a social perspective of nature. See, nature sees itself very differently than the way humans see. Now I know that for sure. I call it seeing and hearing through life's eyes and ears, and not our projection onto, because we project onto everything. And quantum reality has proven that 100%. It's not 50%, 60%, maybe this, maybe that. No. Everything you're seeing outside of you, because you've got 10 people seeing the same thing and they're all seeing it differently. What does that tell you? Let's get real here. If they all see and experience it differently, they're seeing the same object, the same phenomenon, but they're experiencing it differently. Seeing and experiencing it differently, because it is a reflection back to them of what's going on inside. So your inner state creates your outer state.
Right.
So it's all based on a principle that people say mindset. They use these terms that get coined, and these phrases, they don't quite understand what they mean. And in many cases, if you don't understand something, you take something you don't understand, and then you add your flavor to it, and it gets even more interesting in terms of confused. And that confusion gets, so I always say, confusion begets confusion until you get delusion. And then you're off the track. But because it's your effort, it's your investment, it's your belief, you're going to hang on to it, even if you know in your cells that it's not doing any good for you. So this creates another confusion toward mental health. And men are more, a woman has a natural knowing about what she is. A man doesn't know what he is, so he's got to make up stories, and he creates all sorts of interesting stories about, well, actually men don't ask what they are so much, they ask who they are. Who is very important for a man. You know, who am I relative to other people's opinions, reflections, versions? Making some sense? Women naturally in the cells know they are a function of creativity. Natural creativity means natural law.
Yep.
And that is how the universe functions. Is that making some sense?
For me, it's very beautifully sensing. I don't know, people understand it or not. We'll see. Okay, so I have a few questions. Many of the terminologies, definitions we want has already been in the camera. So one question's here. So how we encourage us, like out of society, how can we encourage more inclusivity in the workplace to bridge the gender post? Very short and sweet answer.
Stop projecting onto women
Okay.
to try to make them perform as a man.
Okay. Okay.
They are not men.
They're not men, yeah.
So in order to be accepted in their club, they have to act like a man.
Yeah, right.
I mean, that to me is ridiculous.
So you mean that workplace is not for women?
No.
You mean that?
No, on the contrary. If you want a woman to be in the workplace, open up that workplace to learn from what it is to be a woman. Otherwise, she's not in your work. You said inclusivity. That's not inclusive, that's exclusive. You're not being fair, you're not being equanimous, you don't understand yourself. So you say, if you want to join my club, you have to become like me. Yeah, that's very low vibration.
Very difficult.
Yeah, that's driven by survival. That's what animals do. I'm the alpha male. You have to do what I say. If you want to join my club.
Not possible, right?
Well, it's likewise if a man tries to go into a woman, like a woman's field that's predominant
How
women.
do we understand it?
You notice if he's macho and alpha male, he doesn't quite work because it's not needed. And any woman that's grounded and clear will look and say, well, you actually don't need to prove anything here. You see the point? That's really, really critical. And that's very, very important if we want not just inclusivity but expansion. We want to shift and change, we have to do that from a very different place.
Oh, next question. What initiatives or policies do we believe are most effective in promoting gender equality?
You mean policies that need to be brought in?
Yeah.
Because I don't know about the policies that are of the existing ones that are looking at. You're saying gender equality?
As it is a very trendy throughout the world, like gender equality, gender balance, gender initiations, this and that.
Gender equality.
From your perspectives, you can just say, from your perspectives, what policies would be better, you think?
Understand yourself first before you impose onto other people to get them to prove to you that they are worthy of your acceptance.
All right. Next question. In your opinion, how can education system better support gender equality and eliminate stereotypes?
By guiding children, don't teach them, through an experience, what feminine and masculine principles are, and giving them exercises so they can understand. When we do this action, this is going out, this is expansion, okay? So, breathe in. Now breathe out. You can breathe in and out like that, or you can breathe in or breathe out. See the difference? That took about 2 seconds. That's how men breathe out. Or that's why ejaculation happens in a few seconds, bang, gone.
Okay.
Natural law helps. Breathing is the feminine. That is
Okay.
opening the space for
Throughout the body.
receiving and accumulating, and therefore nurturing, because you are literally oxygenating yourself. So you should take the time. It's a simple example of what we can do with kids, is what I'm saying, is what I do with kids. This is the feminine. Feel the whole body like a balloon, and now release. You can let go of the balloon, it goes and it's empty in about 3 seconds, or you can hold the tip and release a tiny amount. That means through quietness and stillness, instead of being overactive and being in a hurry and being agitated because you've lost your energy, and now what do? I have to breathe in again. This time when I breathe in, I need to be mindful. What does it mean to breathe in? There's nothing more natural in life than breath. We need to breathe first, more than we need to drink water, more than we need to eat food. You can survive without food for 80 days, without water for 7 to 10 days, without oxygen for about 1.5 to 2 minutes. It's important, you see the list. So I use these examples that are natural inside us to help people to understand what means feminine. Feminine is not the body of a human woman. It's a principle that's universal.
Wow. Very beautifully said. Next questions I have for you. What role do you see? The answer is already there, I think, but it's so in one statement. What role do you see men playing in advancing gender equality at present scenario, and how can we engage them effectively? Are men playing any roles for gender advancing? Do you think that?
Learn natural law.
Simple, right?
Learn to listen. Not through your ears and eyes, but those of the person who's with you. And then act together. Not just take advice and then still do it my way or the highway.
Okay.
So, no, this is critical. Who lives on this planet? Just men?
No.
Yeah, but human men think that. They see everything else, but they see everything outside of them as a differentiation of themselves. They project, I own this. I'm not going to say it because I don't want to appear to be a megalomaniac or a psychopath or a narcissist, but all humans from a psychological perspective. We have this psychopathy, we have borderline, and we have narcissism. This is typical in psychology in terms of the categorization of the types that we have. And men have that more strongly than women. Because they go inside a man's cell, what's your body going to tell you? It's not designed for creation. So we have to use the imagination. So we have to surpass all of these limitations and try to understand ourselves from a different perspective. Not the one that is underpinned by survival. Therefore, I'm in lack all the time. Therefore, all of Western business is appealing to the lack, that which you don't have. So you will buy something that you don't even need. And you put yourself into debt through credit cards and work like a slave for decades. And then your children copy that as well.
That is happening
all the time. You see, all of this activity does not follow natural law. That's the problem, fundamentally.
Okay. So next question for you is, can you share some example of successful strategies or programs that have positively impacted gender balance in leadership role?
At this point in time, I don't know. I'll be very honest, how many programs have been activated or put into place that have led to successful equality in gendership, in gender, well, I call it leadership. Okay. I gave a talk earlier this year on the topic was the role of women as future global leaders. What does that look like in your perspective, may I ask? Women as future global leaders. Firstly, what is a leader and what is global? I say future, because right now they're not future global, they are not global leaders. Yeah.
Okay.
So I think there's a little question mark there, because unless and until, going back to the previous one, a man understands what the role, what the function and the structure and the role, therefore, of a woman is, because they're trying to fit women into the masculine world. It's a yang world. It's phenomenological.
Yeah.
It's a man's world in that sense. It's the world, it's not a man meaning a human being, human male. It means the visual. I have to see it. Okay, here's the simple thing. Would you agree that we tend to trust and accept things we can see and touch over things we cannot see and touch? Yeah. We would rather trust something you can see and touch than things you cannot see and touch. Yes? No? Maybe? So, what do we use to see and touch? Our eyes, visually, the perception, and our touch, the sense of touch. Directly connected to our thoughts and feelings. When you see something, you have a thought. When you touch something, you have a feeling. I'm feeling the surface, the texture, the quality. Yeah. So, can we see and touch our thoughts and feelings? No. Right. So we're using something we cannot see and touch, thoughts and feelings, to validate what we can see and touch.
Mm-hmm.
Now, from my perspective, as a cognitive scientist, therapist, whatever, that creates a cognitive bias. There's a bias towards something. What that means is that you've got thoughts and logic and reasoning over feelings and emotions, and therefore desire. We need to balance those two out with the gut feeling, which is neutral, and it gives you grounding, gives you solidity. Through quietness and stillness, it helps you to understand, because there's a ping-pong match all the time between head and heart. Here I think, here I feel, I point to this one, here I know. So the thinking and the feeling is head and heart, is masculine here and feminine. This, like 15 love, 30 love, 45 less love, 60 no love. Yeah? Playing a tennis match, you know? Okay? So there's always this, because if you try to understand the feelings, right, you're having an understanding version of the feelings. If you try to emote the thoughts, you're having an emotional experience of thoughts. They're not designed that way.
Mm-hmm.
Do you see? We've got to see one through the eyes of the other. I've got to put the thoughts on pause and go into the feelings. Let the feelings tell me what's going on. I've got to put the emotions on pause and go into the thought and start experiencing what logic and reasoning means. Each has their place. It isn't one against the other. That's going to create a big problem. Well, the problem's already there. It's going to create, I think, an even bigger problem. The problem has arisen as a result of, I would say, thousands of years of this lack of understanding of these principles, natural law principles, which are at the foundation of the science, the very mechanistic Newtonian mechanics we're talking about. Look at our body. Humans behave like ionic bonds. I've got an electron, you don't have one. So I have got something that I can give, and you have something you need to take. So everybody is behaving from this survival give and take.
Mm-hmm.
So most people's relationships then are ionic, based on give and take. Now the covalent bond is the bond where at the outer ring of that atom, that particular ring has a balanced amount of electrons. It doesn't need electrons. It's balanced as it is. So when you see another similar or the same atom, which is also balanced, the two don't need each other, but they've decided to combine forces, and they're even more stable. They've got double the amount of electronic activity, but they're balanced. It is not based on give and take, which leads to volatility. This relationship is based on balance, which leads to coherence. You know, we co-hear, we learn to hear each other.
Mm-hmm. So next questions for you is, what challenges do you foresee in achieving true gender equality? I think we discussed these things, right? Overcomes and all. We discussed how we overcome and what are the challenges.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, a simple and the last questions. How can individual contributes to promoting gender equality in their daily life and communities? I think this is very important and mandatory, has like people understand from the community level, from the individual level and the community level.
by using examples like I did for breathing, there's nothing more fundamental than that in guiding children. It's from the childhood. Then we grow up understanding what is the feminine, what is the masculine, what role they play, how one is there to support the other, not to be in competition with the other. How do they combine? How do they connect? What purpose do they serve for each other in order for growth and expansion? So to start from the adult world, we need to go from the bottom up with the children in the teaching. We need to start from the top down in terms of society, the leaders and the way they see things, purely based. What does every single politician speak about fundamentally? Resources. If we did not bring to their conscious mind the impact of the need, this voracious, hungry desire, the impact that has had taking resources from the planet on the climate change, they wouldn't be paying attention to it because it doesn't enter into their conscious mind. They don't care. They never did. If they did, they would have been careful to not take more than is there. I grew up in Australia where Aboriginals taught me a lot of things. And one of them was, you've got a tree, right? Because it doesn't belong to you. It doesn't belong to the land. It belongs to the mother. The mother gave birth to the tree, you didn't. And you shake it 3 times. What falls is yours. The rest stays on the tree for the next person who comes. Yeah, it's not I pick all for me because I planted that tree and it's my tree. It's my territory. I'm the dominant being here. Humans are custodians of the mother. We're supposed to support and hold. That's what a custodianship means. You don't own. You're responsible for mother's well-being because without her, you're dead.
Yeah, right. That's true. Mother Nature, we can simply say that.
That's what we need to learn. And that can be applied on multiple levels. That's, I would say, a theme for another video.
Right. So, basically, we are near to the end of the discussion. And what will be your final suggestion? Already many suggestions have been come up through our discussions. I hope everyone understands, and I believe you get the beautiful points out of it, like how the world is about the feminine energy and the masculine energy and how it works. So your final statement that can heal these generations through the mental trauma of gender disbalance, gender imbalance and insecurities.
We have a situation where we need to look internally at where the wounds are that create the wounds of our inner child, that create all of these different ways of seeing. And we need to be, firstly, if you are looking for a solution, you need to be willing to step outside of your comfort zone. You need to be 100% honest with yourself, and you need to be willing to hand power over to something bigger than you. That means humbling yourself to what I see as a universal intelligence and universal wisdom. Intelligence has been given to us. We have it in the cells. That's a gift. Wisdom you have to work for.
Okay, nice.
Doesn't happen naturally.
Yeah, beautiful to say. Yeah. Thank you so much, Mr. Dr. Konstantin, for your beautiful. I would love to call it as a session, but because for me it's like more learning from you. I was very deepening to your statement, and I understand. I tried to understand, and I was so much into it with your words. So thank you so much for your time, and thank you so much for the further discussions. Maybe in the future, it depends, right? So thank you so much again, and I believe the audience will try to understand the perspectives we are discussing about, and you have so much of solution, bunches of ideas here how we lead a life and make it simple to live better and easier. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for your understanding and insights.
Yeah, I was so much into your
Without
words,
that,
like-
then this is just a one-way.
Yeah, that's
street.
why in the first meeting we get so much connected, and I'm here to discussion for the next sessions. I
Great.
love this discussion.
Thank you. Thank you
Thank
very
you so
much.
much.
Thank you.